The first signal wasn't a headline. It was chaos. 7 container ships idled off the coast of Vancouver. Engines off. Crews pacing. Cargo worth hundreds of millions. Frozen mid-sea. Not by war, not by weather, but by labor locks and retaliatory tariffs. And in the Oval Office, President Trump reportedly fumed as alerts scrolled across the TV. US-bound containers rejected in Singapore, Hamburg, and Prince Rupert. Not a glitch, not a delay. A deliberate severing of trade arteries. And the fallout wasn't theoretical. That week, General Motors postponed delivery of brake modules to Tennessee. Advance Auto Parts cut service region capacity by 17%. And one customs broker in Long Beach called it the sharpest rerouting crisis since 2020. Port Newark was the first domino. Located in New Jersey, this quiet workhorse typically offloads mid-tier parts, dash clusters, wiring harnesses, control modules. But West Coast congestion shoved volume east, spiking East Coast Asian import demand 18%. In response, container operators began skipping the port entirely. Blank sailing surged. One skip docking means thousands of parts miss their destination. A missed sensor shipment from Yokohama to Michigan delayed Ford's EV rollout by 5 days. An aftermarket distributor in Ohio told Reuters, "We have the inventory. It's just floating in the Atlantic." Across the Pacific, Shenzhen's Yantian port became a victim of its own surge. Following Trump's April tariff spike, 145% on certain Chinese imports, 10% baseline across the board, freight rates skyrocketed. Container bookings jumped 277% in 1 week. But volume isn't velocity. As long-term contracts swallowed all remaining slots, spot market shippers, small businesses, mid-tier part suppliers were shoved out. U.S. buyers were left watching their goods stuck in yard queues or rerouted entirely. In response, Yantian's dwell time ballooned. By early June, nearly 1 in 3 containers missed its connecting vessel. Back in the States, the port of Savannah, long considered the agile newcomer, buckled under the redirection. Savannah overtook New York, New Jersey in auto-related throughput in 2024, handling critical cargo from South Korea and Taiwan. But it wasn't built for crisis absorption. Chassis shortages plagued inland transport. CSX rail's turnaround time slowed by 32%. Assembly lines in Alabama paused for lack of hydraulic parts. Freightos reported a 19% increase in intermodal costs in the region. And ironically, it was this surge in attractiveness, cheaper East Coast rates, that triggered the clog. Savannah became a relief valve that couldn't relieve. Now, pivot northwest to Seattle and Tacoma, the Northwest Seaport Alliance. Here, the contradiction really sharpened. After a tariff-induced rush in March, cargo volumes dropped 40%. Not gradually, instantly. Truck traffic was down 26%. Railloads got slashed by 35%. Blank sailings were up 33%. For a port that feeds the Midwest's heavy machinery sector, that's not a slowdown. It's a stall out. Local firms tried to pivot to air freight. But with diesel injectors or steering columns, size just kills viability. One importer told the Wall Street Journal, "We paid $11,000 to move $9,800 of parts." It was survival math. Down the California coastline, Oakland faced a paradox: traffic up, throughput down. Oakland saw a modest bump in inbound containers, mostly because carriers were abandoning LA. Yet, from April to June, the port logged 39 blank sailings. Berth congestion got worse. Yard delays totally spiked. OEMs started rerouting via Vancouver and Mexico. But longer transit and customs complexity just wrecked timing. May data shows that dealers relying on Oakland suffered 12 to 16-day average delays on parts. Freight forwarding firms even began rejecting Oakland-bound jobs altogether. The math just stopped working. Let's pause for a second, because this wasn't supposed to happen. Not like this. Trade policy in theory is meant to protect domestic jobs, but in practice, it's turned every major U.S. port into a frontline casualty. The nation isn't under siege, but it's hemorrhaging precision. Long Beach, which handled 9.6 million TEUs in 2024, became an unexpected epicenter of scarcity. After Trump's tariff hike, blank sailings jumped from 4 to 14 in a single month, wiping out 152,400 TEUs of capacity. Local logistics firms slashed shifts. Truckers saw a 60% drop in runs. And warehouses, stocked to bursting just months ago, now sat empty. Auto parts ranging from brake boosters to steel underframes vanished from inventories. One independent mechanic in Bakersfield told Bloomberg, "We're quoting 4-week waits on parts that used to be next day." Then came Los Angeles, the apex, the arterial gateway. With $500 billion in annual cargo flow and over 25 active terminals, LA isn't just a port, it's the bloodstream of America's auto import system. But in May, the arteries clogged. Tariffs surged, arrivals plummeted from 12 ships a day to 5. Blank sailings hit 17. That's 224,000 containers gone. Gene Soroka, executive director, confirmed dock worker hours halved. Shipments of ECUs, airbags, and chassis kits fell by double digits. Some automakers turned to air freight for critical modules, ballooning unit costs. The truce in mid-May dropped tariffs to 30%, but the scars remain. There is no rewind in global logistics, only reroutes. But the drama wasn't confined to American soil. It radiated outward. Hamburg imposed ship-by-ship approvals for U.S.-linked exports after a pilot strike in February. Singapore, grappling with yard congestion, capped U.S. container movement for 3 weeks. And Vancouver's July lockout trapped 116,000 TEUs offshore. Roughly 1,000 containers linked directly to U.S. importers. One container broker in Toronto estimated $800 million in daily lost trade. The Canada Border Services Agency labeled the backlog unprecedented. Every idle vessel carried not just goods, but spiraling insurance fees, ruined food shipments, and breached retail contracts. Retaliation followed tariffs. Brazil called Washington's new duties an indignity. Singapore's deputy prime minister accused the U.S. of breaching its free trade pact. Germany signaled tit-for-tat hikes unless negotiations resumed. The irony? The U.S. authored many of these trade frameworks. Now it's breaching its own playbook and getting punished for it. Diplomatic fallout triggered new surges. Every threat of future tariffs unleashed a wave of last-minute shipping that slammed already fragile ports. The cycle became self-fueling policy instability fed port chaos, which triggered more reroutes, which justified more tariffs. Container bookings from China to the U.S. surged again after the May tariff truce. Hapag-Lloyd logged a 50% spike. Yantian and Ningbo hit capacity walls. Ships rerouted to Singapore, where 2-week delays rippled to Rotterdam. Congestion surcharges reappeared. Spot rates blew past $4,000 per FEU, highest since 2022. And yet, import data shows a chilling trend. May container volumes into the U.S. fell 7.2% year over year. China shipments? Down 20.8%. Retailers cite tariff costs. Exporters cite rejection at destination. Logistics firms cite no guarantee of throughput. One more twist. Vessel imbalance. As fewer ships arrive, containers stack up in the wrong places. U.S. exporters, especially agriculture, now pay 30% more to secure outbound freight. Perishable goods rot in silos. Soybean exporters to Asia miss peak windows. And with only 58.5% of global vessels arriving on schedule, ocean shipping has lost its predictability advantage. That means risk pricing goes up, and inventory buffers get fatter. The human cost. Hamburg trucker Horn Wolf said he now averages 4 hauls a day, down from 7. Vancouver Union Chief Willie Adams warned that U.S. dock workers may begin refusing diverted cargo in solidarity. Retailers miss launch dates. Repair shops lose customers. Workers face automation threats. And shippers begin bypassing America altogether. Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong warned, protectionism is now the systemic risk. Not war, not climate, but erratic tariffs. And now the final reversal. The very strategy designed to revive American industry, punitive tariffs, and aggressive rerouting has begun driving business away from U.S. ports. Dual sourcing is no longer theoretical. Mexican and Vietnamese suppliers are growing. Canadian West Coast ports, despite setbacks, are building capacity to serve Asia directly. Chinese firms are setting up hubs in Africa and the Gulf to bypass the tariff net. And ironically, as U.S. exporters struggle with port rejections, Some are quietly lobbying to lower the same tariffs they once supported, just to get containers moving again. This wasn't just a clash of policies. It was a rupture in the flow that powers the global economy. From blank sailings to blocked berths, from tariff hikes to retaliatory caps, the supply chain has become a geopolitical battlefield. Ports are no longer neutral. They're weapons. And the longer this conflict continues, the more irreversible the damage to U.S. export dominance becomes. The global trade map is redrawing itself, not by design, but by disruption. We're glad you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out another video that is now on your screen.